Welcome to Bold Talk series, where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Ian Drewe, CEO of Avoca Property. Ian, great seeing you, and welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Epi. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. I was looking forward to have this conversation. Ian, we come from places that we lived in the same places, and we have a great conversation before we started this recording. So let's start first with your past. You spent over 2 decades as a lawyer and investment banker before turning fully to real estate. Was there a defining moment when you realized you wanted to step away from a global finance and building something of your own with Avoca Property?
Yeah. Look, great question. I mean, I was incredibly lucky over the course of my career to have been given the opportunity to work on some amazing transactions around the world. And on the whole, I kind of thoroughly enjoyed it. However, as part of that role, you need to be able to deal with the more painful parts, which can include endless conference calls, bureaucracy, internal politics, all that kind of good stuff. And really, many times during the course of your career, it can be altered by restructurings and other decisions made by nameless, faceless bean counters that you'll never meet. So I'd always wanted, for a considerable period of time, the ability to kind of charter my own career's course through the creation of my own firm. Somewhat embarrassingly, I think that the catalyst for me to actually do something about it was pretty benign and infantile. I got off a call at about 3 a.m. where I was advising someone about something about doing aspects of their job they should have known. And I just realized that, you know what, this is not for me. I'm too old and ugly to do this. I need to do what I want to do, which was creating my own business.
Yeah. Creating your own business. That's one amazing journey. And that's something that takes with a commitment. It has its own challenges. To me, it was really amazing because when I read a book from Robert Kiyosaki, he has these 4 quadrants, right?
Yep.
And there's this the quadrants to the left and the quadrants to the right. It's a huge difference, but they're both businesses, right?
Yep.
And so I've been doing a lot of those businesses to the left until I realized that, oh my God, what the heck am I doing, right? But it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And so so now when you're looking back at your early days investing in property globally, what was the first deal that truly taught you the realities of risk and reward in real estate?
In real estate, yeah. Well, I mean, amazingly, I think if I think of the most obvious example of that was probably the first deal that I ever did as a banker, which was in Sydney, Australia, where I'm from. And our client was a manufacturing operation coming from mainland Asia. And in essence, they brought it to us and they wanted advice on how to restructure their operations because essentially they were sinking. And so we took a look at the business itself, and it became really obvious to us pretty quickly that these guys knew how to run a business. But what they didn't understand was that their underlying real estate agreement was sinking the ship. And so we could not do anything for or to their business without restructuring their real estate deal. And it was kind of binary. If we restructured the deal, they would survive. If we didn't, they would go under. And that's how powerful real estate certainly was to their business. And I would suggest to most businesses, it's a big component. And in that instance, we were very fortunate because the landlord sort of realized in time that if he didn't restructure the agreement, which was heavily favorable to him, sufficiently so to sink the business, then he would be earning nothing. It didn't act as an advantage for him if the business went under. So we were able to restructure it. But that really taught me a pretty valuable lesson as to how powerful real estate is.
Yeah. And you founded Avoca Properties with the goal of acquiring stabilizing multifamily assets. Can you share a specific acquisition that best captures how you and your team transformed the property from struggling to thriving?
Yeah, well, I think a good example of that is an acquisition that we did towards the end of 2024, towards the end of last year. The seller is or was a city in Texas, and where the opportunity was there was the fact that nobody working for the city was actually tasked with overseeing the property. So they built this beautiful property. The property was designed and did amazing things within the community, but it was being run into the ground by a property manager who simply wasn't receiving any oversight from the owner, which was the city. So when we came along, we took it over and we had a very specific business plan. We had a lot of work to do because not only had the previous property manager really disaffected the tenants, but the reputation of the property in the community online was terrible. So we have a really, really well-known and successful property manager who devised an amazing marketing plan. And we thought, wow, we read this and I had never seen anything like it. So we thought, okay, here we go. The plan came on board, and it's fair to say that we really struggled for the first 3 or 4 months to have any impact on the property. And I think the lesson that we learned was that you can have the best laid plans. In this case, literally, it was a marketing plan. But if you don't have the right people on the ground to execute the plan, it's of absolutely no value to you whatsoever. It's easy, it's pretty obvious in hindsight, but it was an interesting one because you just assume that everyone has the team right. In this instance, we didn't. We changed the team where it needed to be changed, and I can thankfully report the property is going incredibly well. And lesson learned.
I see. Yeah, it all comes down to every business isn't a people's business. It's about truly having aligned people that they can execute. If you don't have aligned people, it's very hard to execute properly. There's a lot of confusion that happens. I truly follow like one of those OKR methodologies that the big tech use, the objective key results, because they're all the time about like really the feedback that you get, the conversation you have to make and iterate things better. But it all comes down to alignment, and you have to have those right people to execute, like you said, properly. So now with the let's go back a little bit. Let's go a little bit on a side that you are involved. So you're also active locally, serving on planning and development committees. How does that community involvement shape your perspective and responsible on real estate investing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been very lucky in the town in which I live to again have had the opportunity to serve on a number of local committees, some of which have been related to expenditures on the school, some of which have been related to, I guess, more infrastructure related issues. And I think that we aim to, I guess, apply the same principle to our business. So from a humane perspective, I think that, we have a very clear role, and what we are doing literally is housing individuals and families. And again, as a person, it's incumbent upon me to lead my firm to do that in the best way that we possibly can. And I think that a big part of that is engaging with the community in whatever area the property is involved with. On a more cynical level, we also engage with the community as a key part of our business, and we found that you ignore the community, you ignore the sort of stakeholders, including the tenants, at your peril. It's never a good idea with business. And it's been a really central, I think, point for each of our business plans to get in there and make sure that we engage with the community, and we create a rapport. Without that, I think you're doomed.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Ian, the multifamily sector has become increasingly competitive. Market is not moving as it's supposed to move for many reasons. One is the interest rates. Where do you see the hidden opportunities that others often overlook, and how do you prepare Avoca to move when the right moment comes in?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it is a competitive landscape, but I firmly believe that we are in a period of time for multifamily property, which could be described as a perfect storm. I think all of the aspects that you talked about and the factors that have been problematic over the last 3, 4, 5 years
Mhm.
for a number of operators has created an immense amount of opportunity for those of us who are able to act in the market now. And look, it is the way of the world, and this business works in cycles. And we're at a particular point in the cycle where, unfortunately, there are, distressed properties coming on market. And the key part of anyone's business is to be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. And so that's really the crucial point. The crucial point is that I don't necessarily think that, we have access to opportunities that's greater than anyone else. I think where we're very fortunate is that we are able to act quickly when those opportunities come. And that means having the right team in place that are ready to go at a moment's notice. And within that team, I think easily the most important, again, I use this word stakeholders, but the most important members of our team are our investors. And so, we learned the tough way, it has to be said. Multifamily investing is very different from banking. In multifamily investing, people are investing with me. They need to know and trust me. Banking is a little bit different. It's generally people look at the institution and the transaction more so than the individual. Multifamily investing is very different. So we spend an inordinate amount of time and energy prior to an opportunity arising, nurturing our investors, getting to know our investors getting to know me, so that when these opportunities arise, we're able to act quickly, and we hopefully already have the strength and relationships so that people feel confident enough to invest their money with us, because it's a big ask for us to ask people to part with their money. Luckily, fortunately for us, we've also got relationships with some of the institutions and family offices and funds that enable us to, again, take advantage of larger opportunities that are hitting the market as and when they do.
Yeah. You talk about this real estate works in cycles. I remember the cycle of 2007 and 8, where a lot of distressed properties there they came in the market. And when I look back, we made some moves back then, but I look back like it was hard to move because it was not much liquidity back then versus what the liquidity is available today. What do you think that the distress market or the cycle that it's coming out, is it going to be bigger than last time or smaller, or what do you think? What are you thinking?
Well, goodness. I mean, I wasn't a participant in the industry in 2008. And in fact, in 2008, we came to New York for the first time. I was a banker at the time. And when I arrived in New York, I arrived with a 1-month-old child and really no expertise or experience in US transactions. And I had this ridiculous notion of wandering down to Wall Street and saying, "Hi, everyone, I'm here." That didn't happen. And so in 2008 really was the catalyst to force me to consider, what is it that I want to do? What is it that what business is going to allow me to develop the career and to work with people and assist people that I wanted to do? So I started with what I knew, which was I formed my own financial advisory firm, and then I got into multifamily. And really, I wasn't at that point an active participant in 2008. So it's very difficult for me to compare. I've heard some amazing stories of what went on here in 2008, which I probably shouldn't share. I can say that in 2025, look, liquidity is starting to come back. And by that, I mean debt providers are now starting to up the amount that they're prepared to lend. There is equity out there. It certainly, I think, is more plentiful than it was 6 months ago. And I think that with that, there will be more entrants in the market coming back to the market who've been absent kind of over the past 12 months, who, for whatever reason, have found that, conditions weren't to their liking. So I think that you're going to have more capital because people are just more comfortable now than they perhaps were 12 months ago, but more competition. So, it's whoever is best placed will
Yeah.
ultimately succeed.
Yeah, well said. And this is a short format conversation at Bold Talks. Always, as a last question, I'd love to ask my guests about the word bold. What does that mean to you personally?
The word bold, right? What a great question. To me, it means goodness. It means the ability to take on risk when you know the consequences, when you know what the downsides are. I think anyone can, be bold, quote unquote, if they haven't really thought about it, don't fully understand the repercussions of what it is that they're doing. To me, being bold means being in a position to really understand what the upsides and what the downsides are of what you're going to do. And if you believe in it, to do it anyway. Be bold, but be bold in an informed, sensible way. It's my 56-year-old head talking there.
Yeah, very well said. I truly enjoyed this conversation. Looking forward to connect in person or again in a podcast like this. Have a great last days of the summer. Enjoy
Yeah.
it and be great always and be bold. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks, Epi. That was great. Enjoyed it.